Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another live stream with Sundrax. Today I'm being joined by Daniel.
Good afternoon,
Hello,
everyone.
Daniel. Daniel, introduce yourself.
Hi. Well, I'm Dan. I'm a sales engineer for Sundrax Electronics. I am a ex-theatrical lighting designer and technician, and I'm a graduate of two lighting specialist degrees, the lighting design degree at Rosebery College and the MSc Light and Lighting course at UCL.
Nice. So today we're going to be talking about pixel drivers and DALI-Gate converters. Daniel, take it away.
Cool. So our DALI-Gate DIN device is a DIN rail mounted converter that converts DMX, ArtNet, SACN, and real-time tracking protocol and KeyNet into DALI protocol, allowing DALI fixtures to be utilized in like mixed controllable lighting networks. And because it's DIN rail mounted and it utilizes DMX, ArtNet scan inputs, it's an ideal solution for mixed lighting control in theatrical spaces like large theaters, small venues, also architectural installations, industrial projects, and agricultural spaces, as lighting control for the agricultural industry is just constantly expanding, and DALI is an awesome protocol to use in that instance. The converter provides designers with a really, really wide range of control options, and it's available on a channel-to-channel, channel-to-device, and channel-to-group basis with several DALI-Gate converters. If you utilize those in your network, the versatility just continuously increases.
So have you worked with DALI products, and what was your experience working with them, and also from a technical point of view, what are the advantages?
I found DALI particularly useful when speccing them into the architectural space. It's just a really pervasive protocol that's used in the architectural industry, specifically for color control and dimming in just every single space that you can possibly get hold of. And I found it quite intuitive and just all in all a little bit more designer friendly than some other protocol. And when you combine it into DMX networks, you get that speed of the DMX, but also with the utility that DALI can provide.
Right. And why would you use Sundrax's DALI products?
Oh, for a number of reasons. The device itself comes with loads of great extras. So personally, the thing that really excites me about the device is the configuration and how configurable it is with the web interface, which I'll go into a lot more detail about later. But the web interface itself is a really big bonus. It allows you to completely customize the way you want to use your DALI device, and you can assign all of the protocol conversions that you would like, and also your grouping and the way that you search for your DALI units using the web interface. It's a brilliant add-on. And the device itself is incredibly reliable and can be utilized in a massive range of situations.
Yeah. So if we just hit next on this next slide. So tell us a bit about this.
Yeah, so this is our diagram of the DALI device itself. And as you can see, we've got 4 DALI ports, a single DMX input. There's an ArtNet input for connecting it to a computer network for you to access the web interface. So you can use RDM, and you can edit the way that you want to use the device itself. So you can edit the protocol, and you can do that in situ. So once it's installed, as long as it's connected to a computer network, you can update and change the way you want to use the device. The casing of the device itself is made of a mixture of metal and plastic, and it's quite sturdy. It's a really rugged, reliable device. It's pretty small. It's like a good, reasonable size, and it's quite light as well. They weigh around 45 kilograms, and like I've said previously, they're specifically designed for mounting inside power cabinets. they're pretty good. They're really, really good.
And one good thing about Sundrax products is the fact that there are no internal fans on all of our products, actually. So there's no way of them overheating. Another device that's maybe mounted next to it may cause one of our devices to get hot. But in terms of our devices, in the way that they've been built, there is no physical way of them overheating, which is a really, really good thing to have.
Yeah, it's amazing. The operating temperature range, considering that it uses natural heat convention, is very impressive. Like the operating temperature for the DALI-Gate device is -40 to +70 degrees C, which is so impressive. The fact that it's natural heat convention and there's no active cooling in it at all, which is startling, especially when compared to like other products that by other manufacturers. It's very, very impressive, very well made.
Yeah. So if we just go on to the next page. So connection scheme. Tell us a bit about the connection scheme.
Yeah, so this is a standard recommended connection scheme for the device. So we would recommend that it would, if you're attaching it to a standard DMX network, you could have something like a ETC EOS, Geo, or an MA Grand controlling your front of house luminaires in a theater, or controlling practicals in a venue, for example. So that's my experience. So that's what I'm drawing from. And you can connect up to 4 DALI ports to it. So it's got 4 active DALI ports, and you can connect whatever DALI devices to those you want. And they can be groups, single luminaires, or you can have like one address to control everything the device is set to. And you can also then have that run off through your Ethernet network, maybe like away from your DMX controller to somewhere where you can then edit that in situ if you would like.
Right. It's very interesting. So just coming off from the PowerPoint, I also want to let people know that all Sundrax's products offer a 36-month warranty. So if anything obviously does go wrong, you've got that coverage, which I know other companies don't offer that extensive of a warranty. So it's really good to know that you've got that support there. But our products are obviously built extremely well, well manufactured from us, and been designed so cleverly that really you shouldn't run into any problems at all anyway. But obviously if there's that one fluke, should we say, you've got that 36-month warranty to kind of fall back on, which is good.
Yeah, the likelihood of someone having to use the warranty is very small.
Yeah. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. So tell us about the web.
I wanted to go into the web interface with a little bit more detail. It's quite easy to access. You just go into your Ethernet settings on your computer, select your Ethernet port that you want to use. Like if you've got multiple, click the specific one, go into properties, and then you have to set a static IP address. And I've got an example up there where there's a static IP and a mask that's been set for the device. Once that's done, you can input our standard IP address into your web browser for the device that will then take you to the web interface for our DALI device. It's the same for every DALI device. And that's given to you when you purchase a product. And
having a static IP is really important, isn't it? Because it essentially allows you to be able to control them without essentially losing the connectability to the device. So you can always constantly connect to it if you need to change any settings in it. It's really good having it. And quite a lot of people need a static IP to configure what they need to do with the product, which is good. So if we...
So this is our main settings page for the device, and this is where the bulk of the settings can be edited. And so in this page you can edit the protocol that you would like to use, and you can switch between ArtNet, SAN, DMX, real-time tracking protocol, and KeyNet. You can edit your universe, your start address, your addressing mode, and you can also individually control each DALI port. There's options for, and all of those are controllable for each individual DALI port. And the addressing mode is quite important. It defines the way your DALI luminaires can be searched for and they can be controlled. We've got 3 different modes that you have access to. We've got broadcast mode, individual mode, and group mode. So in broadcast mode, it's one address for every single DALI unit that you've got connected to your device. In individual mode, a single address controls a single luminaire, and you've got a maximum of 64 addresses to choose from. And then in group mode, it's 16 addresses, and you've got 16 groups that you can control.
And that's really important as well, that it supports all those protocols. Obviously, all of our products support such a wide range of protocols, and it's really important that obviously products support those protocols, because obviously devices, fixtures, etc., are developing in the industry. So it's always good to basically have the supported device for the fixtures, because otherwise it kind of obviously gets a bit interesting.
Yeah, it gets a bit interesting. But the great thing about this kind of versatility is it just empowers designers to make the decisions that they need to make and the choices that they want to do.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, they're not limited. If you wanted to add this into any kind of network that you want, it would be very easy to do. You could control those luminaires in like any way that you wanted to, as long as it fits within the parameters of DALI and DMX. It's just, it's a massive boon. Yeah. So like we also have like a network setting page, and this is where you can just set up your network parameters. So as standard, it will just be the our standard IP address, the one that you put into the network, and just all of the stuff that you get with as the standard that you've used to connect. But then once you're into it, you can edit this any way that you feel fit for your own network. And again, just adding to that versatility and allowing the customer to do what they need to do. There's no stopping them from editing any of this in any way that they see fit.
Yeah, and looking at it, it seems a really user-friendly interface.
It's very clear. It's very clear. It's very simple. Everything is there. Everything's very easy to find. Like
obviously, there are a lot more interfaces out there, but they tend to be very confusing, and you don't know where anything is. There's setting under setting, and it just obviously gets a bit too much. So obviously, having a nice user-friendly interface that does exactly everything that you need, and compared to a more complicated interface, it's good to know that
I've definitely worked with some interface, some web interfaces like this before that have just been very difficult to navigate.
Yeah,
and you don't get that with this web interface at all. It's the same across all of our devices that support the web interface. So all of our networking devices, and it's very clear. It's very easy to navigate. It's very easy to find what you need to find. Like there's no hidden menus or learning curve. It's just straight away. Okay, yeah, this is this setting, and this is where I need to go to. It's very good. Yeah. One of the major pluses of Sundrax devices is that we publish regular firmware updates, and these can be updated into your devices using the firmware settings on our web interface. These are accessible in the download section of our website, and you can get these for all of our nodes and converters and whatever you need. So for DALI at the moment, we're on version 1.15, and this had been updated into this into this device that I was accessing the web interface on, as you can see. Very easy, very good for customer support and keeping the tech up to date. So you know that it's going to keep functioning and we're going to support it into the future.
And one good thing, especially about Sundrax, is obviously we offer a 24/7 technical support. So if there is, for some reason, one of your devices playing up, or I know I had a client that had to reset one of his products, but obviously didn't know how. So I was obviously able to help him out and be able to reset his device back to factory settings, basically. So we have a 24/7 technical support as well. So if you are encountering any issues, you can always get in contact with them, and then that are obviously more than happy to help out. So that's really good to know as well.
And also within, especially on the DALI devices and all of our other devices, if there are individual ports to manage, you can manage them in the web interface. So each individual DALI port can be customized to do what you need it to do. So they don't all have to be networked in the same way. There's global settings and then there's complete individual settings. So again, just continually adding to the versatility and continually empowering designers to make the choices they want to make. Like if you need one DALI port to do a thing, it can do that thing, and you can have another one focus on a different task, and they can all be controlled and networked into your DMX interface using this device. But yeah. So I've done a comparison between our device and a similar one within the industry. And one of the best things about DALIGate is that it doesn't require an external PSU. There is an embedded power supply. And we are bringing out a new version where you can turn off that power supply in case you do want to use an external PSU for powering units and other things, because having more than one power supply running to your DALI units can interfere with your network. So we're adding an option to turn that off, but as standard, they have an internal power supply and you do not need an external PSU. All of the ports on the DALI device have galvanic isolation, so they're very safe. Like, you're not going to get any electrical issues if you use it correctly. And operating temperatures, even with our passive or natural heat convection, is still considerably better than most other products in the industry, as you can see here.
And that's quite interesting as well, that the differences between other well-known DMX to DALI converter has so many differences, but bad differences, if to be honest, compared to ours. Like looking at the protocols that our DALIGate supports and looking at the alternative, it's one of those things that it's not necessarily just about price. It's about specifications and all that. So when you buy our DALIGate device instead of any other, you get so much more versatility. It is more rugged. None of our labels are going to rub off. We laser etch all of our labels into our device. So like no matter what you're using that device for and how many times you reinstall or uninstall it, it'll always be very clear what goes where. Just because customer safety is very important. Like if a label peels off and you've got a new member of staff and they're reinstalling something and they're not sure about the device, if you buy Sundrax, you know that they're going to be able to put that together properly because all of our labeling is still on there. We also have a much longer, like an extra year on warranty, which, we just want to make sure that, very customer friendly. Going to make sure that you get the support that you need. Again, with the web interface, lots of other devices require external DALI commissioning tools, whereas we don't. You can do all of that through the web interface. You can search for all of your luminaires. You can decide how they're controlled. You can do all of that through the web interface. So there's no extra cost in terms of buying a PSU or buying a DALI controller. No. When you buy Sundrax, it's as standard in our device, which is just, it's a very good thing for designers and electricians. Yeah, definitely.
You know what you're getting.
So tell us a bit about this.
So this is just, so Hoffman Technic AS used one of our DALIGate DIN devices in a power cabinet on a tour, just for the application of it. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the applications of this device, or where as a theatrical and architectural trained designer, where I think this device could be useful. And a few things that really jump out at me when thinking about this specifically is auditorium lighting and practicals on set. So in terms of auditorium lighting, there's a big trend for increased controllability and dynamic lighting within auditoriums, especially among lighting designers. They really want to create that immersive experience. And if a theater, 10 years ago had fitted out a new auditorium and installed DALI devices, but they wanted to get that controllability with their DMX network, not just like an on and off switch or a DIMM. They wanted something a bit more versatile, so you could have some color change and you'd be a bit faster. You could control and make sure that that step down, the DIMM is smooth. They could then install some DALI-Gate DIN devices and completely rechange. Just that small change adds so much to that venue in terms of the immersive atmosphere. And you can also, what this device will also mean is that if a designer would like to say if you're designing a set piece for a office in central London, and you've decided you would like to use as a practical, say, a Zoom to Bell linear luminaire that's DALI controllable. You want to use it for the realism. You can use our controller to control that on your DMX network, and you can plug that in and it will look realistic and it will dim like it does in the office, and it will work perfectly every time. No messing around with extra cabling or wiring or worrying about conversion. Our device sorts that out for you, and you can use those luminaires in your theatrical space to just add that little bit more realism if you need it. So that's really like what jumped out to me.
So introduction to PixelGate Arma. So obviously it's a pixel driver, or as other people call it, a pixel decoder. So that's your main brain behind the control of pixel strips. It obviously supports ArtNet protocols 1, 2, 3, and 4. And SACN after release. The application for it is, because it's an Arma series product, it's IP65 rated, so it can also be mounted on truss or on surface. So that's really good to know that you have that ability to install this device anywhere you need to. It can obviously be used for outdoor installations, where it's necessary to control LED screens, various decorations, built on the basis of addressable LEDs. And that's one major thing which you need with a pixel driver, is you need to be able to address each individual LED, because it kind of can become a bit, you can run into issues. So it's, and quite a lot of people get confused as well. So obviously it works with 5, 12, and 24 and 48 volts DC. People kind of get a bit confused with what DC and AC means. So I'm just going to obviously run it over slightly. So it's all to do with the waveform of how power basically transfers through a cable. So DC tends to be, as you can see, quite straight, whereas AC, obviously standing for alternating current, is kind of a waveform. So AC is obviously typically what you get coming out of your wall, especially in the UK. So whereas DC would typically be that little brick that you've got on a laptop charger, that essentially converts the AC coming out of the wall into DC to then charge your lithium battery in your laptop. So that's always, people get confused about AC, DC, what is the difference between them? And
I'm sure you've had it as well while working in the theatrical space. Often people who aren't electricians or lighting designers will plug a LED practical or luminaire into an AC power supply and then wonder why it's flickering so much. You always just have to explain to them, no, it's because you need a DC power supply for that. There's no transformer in there to do that for you. You need to sort this out. It is just a little bit of an explanation. It's way more common than people think to have to explain that.
And obviously our devices support 2 Ethernet ports, so that's really good to know you've got essentially such a small device that can support up to 2 Ethernet ports. It also supports 1 or 2 via SPI interfaces, which is another major key regarding our pixel drivers. For example, also you want reliability on pixel drivers and LED drivers for that matter, because LED is taking over the industry. It's all, loads of things are changing over to LED, and you want a good driver or decoder in order to control them. And what kind of, for example, in my old theatre, we obviously did 3 shows each week. So it alternated. So we did 3 shows each week. And one of them was a country show. And we had fences where the band was, and it had LEDs. Or should I be more specific, pixel strips. And basically they invested into cheaper drivers.
Mistake.
Which immediately was an issue for me because I was having to try and fix these drivers constantly. You also run into the issue of, especially with cheaper products, especially other based products, wholesaler products that want cheap, not reliability and quality. We were running into issues of after 30 minutes, the pixel strips would just flash. And one of the main things that happened was they ripped out the pixel strips, even though they were perfectly fine.
So they blamed the strips instead of the drivers.
They blamed the strips rather than the drivers, yeah.
It's always the driver.
I basically told them, I said, well, what driver are you using? And they said, oh, we're just using this cheap one that we got. We got a whole load of them for cheap. And I said, well, that's immediately your issue. An LED pixel, should I say, is literally has no brain. It has no brain to it. Your decoder or your driver is the brain. If you don't have a good quality driver or decoder, you're gonna run into issues with it. And one major question is what we always get is, does this support RGBW? And the answer to that is no. But if you invest in good quality LEDs, LED pixel strips, you don't need RGBW because RGB will mix white. It will mix white, and so just basically invest in good LEDs and a good quality driver.
Yeah, you'll end up having a much higher quality rig, and it will last way longer with less, and you'll probably end up spending less on man hours because your technicians or your just like they're not having to spend plenty of time after show checking and fixing stuff. Like they know it works and it's going to stay there. It's just a rig check during the day.
Exactly. And obviously our PixelGate Armas can work with so many different ranges of voltage in quite a lot of in different countries, and quite a lot of the cheaper drivers and decoders will only work with 110 or will only work with 220. So you'll constantly run into issues, whereas ours, you don't have that issue. It can be universal wherever. And it obviously supports a large number of different addressable LEDs and addressable LED drivers, for instance. It obviously can support over 2,000 individual RGB pixels, which is, for one driver, is incredible.
It's quite impressive.
Yeah.
But all of this goes back to what I was saying before about providing that versatility for designers and clients.
Definitely. So here's a perfect example. So this was an installation called Czech Glamtronic band using Sundrax LED pixel drivers. So you can see each individual letter was controlled by one LED pixel driver. and then they were able to add effects and control each individual LED module that was on that. So that's just an example of where our product has been used. So yeah, obviously has SPI control of 8 individual LED groups. And as I said before, it doesn't have any internal fans, so there's no way of it becoming too hot, which is obviously what you need. You don't want to have any issues in terms of overheating if your theatre's too hot. And one good thing as well is it obviously supports a wide range of voltage from 5 to 48 volts. Obviously, other LED drivers that are in and pixel drivers that are in the same category really only support 5 to 24 or just 5 or just 12, whereas this you kind of get that full range of 5 to 48 volts of whichever you require. One common question we also always get is, I've bought these pixel strips online. We also have a Sundrax PixelGate Arma. Are our pixel strips that we bought on Amazon compatible with the PixelGate Arma? And the answer to that is have a look on our website under PixelGate Arma. We obviously have a tested list.
A tested list of manufacturers to pick from. Recommended.
Thoroughly tested list of LED pixels or LED strips for any. It's all there. But the answer to, obviously, if your specific LED strips are not on our website, what we always suggest is obviously don't go ahead and buy so many PixelGate Armas and so many of these LED strips at once
without testing them.
Go away and test them and actually see if they work, because there are so many different manufacturers, so many different brands, so many different styles of LED and pixel strips. So we always just say, just go away and physically test it yourself. Because without that, we obviously go through our testing with our tested LED pixel strips. But obviously there are just thousands and thousands of different manufacturers and brands and layouts and all this. There's just too many for us physically to test all. There's just that many.
So if you could pick one functionality of the PixelGate Arma compared to other devices that are available in the industry as like the standout, the reason you would choose it, what would it be?
The reason why I would probably choose the PixelGate Arma is probably because you have such a small device, but you can do so much with it. I know there are so many pixel drivers out there which I personally worked with, and they're big and they're bulky and they're
chunky.
They're just too big, and they only control half the amount of LED pixels that Sundrax's PixelGate Arma controls. So it's having that controllability and the fact that each of those LEDs are individually IP'd. So you have that ability to control each individual one if you wanted to. There's no limit. As we said before, there is no limit. So let's carry on. So going up to a roundup. So today we have touched on the basics of DALI control and PixelGate control devices from Sundrax. Obviously looked at the applications and where all of our devices can be used. Looked at examples of installations where our product was used. looked at how you will connect DALI gate control units, and also looked at the web interface for DALI control units. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, we are here for you, me and Daniel, and the rest of the Sundrax team. If you have any other questions after this live stream, please feel free to send them over to office@sundrax.com, and we will be more than happy to help you out and answer any queries or questions that we may not necessarily have covered in this live stream. So, yeah, Daniel, have you got anything else to say?
I think we've touched on everything. And it would be nice to, if anybody's got any questions, it would be nice to hear from you. And we'll go back to you with an answer, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So take care, guys. Thank you for tuning in as well. And we hope to see you for another Live with Sundrax.
See you all very soon.
See ya. Bye, guys.